Hello, welcome back. So today I want to talk about Geoffrey Caine's Legion of the Dead. I have to admit to you that the cover is one of the best things about this book, unfortunately. So, Legion of the Dead, it's from 1992, and apparently it is part of a series, which I didn't realize when I picked it up. It's more of a follow along a certain character type of series rather than a serial or anything like that. So, this book is about a detective, a former detective, a current archaeologist, and a psychic who has, in the past, fought vampires and werewolves, and now he's working in Egypt. And they are excavating a pharaoh's tomb, and they've come across all these crystal skulls, and he's entranced by one of the crystal skulls. And he's kicked out of Egypt. He has to go home. He lives in Illinois, I believe, and on a layover in New York, the commissioner of police and a couple of world-renowned I can't remember exactly what they were, but one of them they both worked for the American Museum of Antiquities. And what has happened is that there is a incredibly wealthy British guy who is building a skyscraper in New York. And while they were digging the foundation for this skyscraper, they find an Etruscan ship. And after they find that, people start to go into comas. Okay, so they know who Stroud is because they know that he has dealt with this kind of thing before, and they want to take him down to the ship and look around and see what's going on. They think they don't know what's going on. They think it's like a spore or something like that, something that has got out of this ship and is infecting people in New York City. And they go down into the ship, and it turns out that there is a demon in this ship, and that what is it, like 2,500 years before, the Etruscans had sealed this demon in the ship with all of these sacrifices, live sacrifices, and floated it off on the ocean and or the Mediterranean, and it somehow wound up in New York. And that's something I want to point out about this book. It is very jumpy, and it has pacing problems. It reads a lot like a first draft. It reads like a book written by a young and energetic writer with a lot of ideas who didn't take the time to go back and flesh it out fully. And just as he was writing, he would just go, oh, that's neat. I want to put that in there. That's neat. I want to put that in there. And sort of slacking on the descriptive detail. So the scientists are down the ship. They get attacked by these crazy six-armed rat-looking things. And somehow they just immediately go, oh, it's a demon. Now, we're not given any insight in how they figure out it's a demon. And they go back up, and two of them fall into a coma, and the third goes nuts and tries to kill the other one. And Dr. Stroud wakes up in the hospital under the care of Dr. Kendra Klein, who is with the CDC, and she's trying to deal with this. They think it's, like I said, some kind of spore or something like that. And Stroud wakes up, and one of the other coma patients there, he's like the original coma patient in this ward he's on. And he walks over to him, and the guy levitates off the bed and spews like acidic brown vomit all over the place. And it just so it's a very much a novel where this happens, then this happens, then this happens and this happens, and there's no in between and there's no description, and sometimes we are just let in on something after it happens, like the characters know about it but we don't, and they just say, oh yeah, that happened like 5 minutes ago. What? So they're able to wake up the other archaeologist, I guess, who is in a coma there, and the other one is in Bellevue Hospital. So they go and get him, and together they're going to fight this demon who is possessing all these people and using them to herd other people down into the ship so that the demon can feed on them bit by bit and then harvest their souls and keep them for all eternity. And the demon wants 5 million people. And at the same time, somehow, in a matter of a couple of days, the pacing problems in this book are really bad. Like, it feels like no time passes, even when the writer says, well, 16 hours have passed, or 2 days have passed, or 3 days have passed. And we don't ever get a sense of the passage of time. It's just like this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And one of the archaeologists that Stroud was working with in Egypt has sent him one of the crystal skulls. And in this skull is, well, there are many, many souls in this skull, and a Etruscan wizard named Esruad. And somehow the demon Ubrox has mistaken Stroud with Esruad, and apparently they are related somehow over this 2,500-year period or so. And Stroud communicates with Esruad through the crystal skull, and they decide, okay, we're going to go back down into the ship and battle the demon. And so by about page 160, this is about 250 pages long. By page 160, I was thinking, like, can I get away with just DNFing this? Can I just stop reading this? It took me quite a while to realize that we were just bounding from one thing to another endlessly. Like, this happened and this happened. Like, okay, this guy fell into a coma, and then he walked into the room, and then the guy got eaten, and then the demon went, ha ha ha, I'll take you forever, or I'll take your soul, and then rat-like creature, and then suddenly they're not even in the ship anymore, and then for some reason, like, the CDC doctor and Stroud, they don't know each other, they don't even really like each other, and she thinks he's insane, but let's go back to my apartment and we'll have sex. And it just did that for the whole book, just one thing right after another. And a lot of this book is told in the dialogue of the characters. Like, all the interesting parts, the most interesting parts, where you're thinking, like, shouldn't that be written or told through dialogue? And you're thinking, like I said, shouldn't he have written that part? Shouldn't he have fleshed that part out? Isn't that the interesting part? I mean, wouldn't that have been interesting to write about and interesting to read, but he left it off? I don't understand that. And like I said, it very much read like a first draft that wasn't fleshed out, that was rushed from end to end. And for being a novel set in New York City, there's zero New York flavor to this at all. I didn't get a sense of it mattering that it was happening in New York City. It could have happened in London. It could have happened in Chicago. It could have happened in Los Angeles. The city was really secondary to all that. I think if you're going to set a novel in New York City, you ought to put some flavor of New York into your novel. I mean, that's true of any city. And I don't know. It really just didn't work for me. It was an interesting concept, and I think it could have been pulled off much better than this was pulled off. Yeah. So it was a disappointing read, but like I said, the cover is really neat, and I spent $1.92 on this, and I kind of would like to have at least $1 of that back. To be honest, I feel like I got 92 cents of it, 92 cents out of it. I don't quite feel like I got $1.92 out of it. But I mean, check that out. And it's stamped too, so it's like a raised, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a raised cover. You can feel it. And I was apprehensive going into this, to be honest, because a lot of the horror novels from the early 90s are not very good in my experience. They tend to be a lot like this, rushed and lacking detail, and just this thing happened and then this thing happened. So, yeah, this was not the best book that I've ever read. And it wasn't even the most entertaining book that I had ever read. It read very much like a video game, actually. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. So I keep saying that, but that's exactly how I felt while I was reading it. Like we just bounce from thing to thing and nothing is ever fleshed out and it just kind of happens to happen a lot of times. So anyway, I'm rambling. That is Legion of the Dead by Geoffrey Caine. I don't know if I would ever read Curse of the Vampire and Wake of the Werewolf. Probably not. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.